The desert night was unnaturally still, the kind of silence that pressed against the ears and set nerves on edge. Captain Cole Ghost Harding crouched low on the ridge, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon through the night vision goggles. His team had been running nocturnal drills when the blackout hit, plunging their advanced equipment into sudden uselessness. Now! The stars above seemed dimmer, the air colder. "Anything yet, Ghost?" whispered Travis Reaper Kane, the team sniper, his rifle slung across his back. "Nothing," Ghost replied, though his gut told him that wouldn't last. The blackout wasn't a coincidence. It was calculated. Something was coming. Behind them, Nate Circuit Lawson cursed softly as he worked on their disabled comms array. His fingers moved fast, the glow of his small flashlight barely cutting the darkness. "Whatever hit us fried everything," he muttered. "EMP pulse, no doubt about it." This wasn't natural. Logan Doc Monroe stood a few feet away, his med kit ready. His calm demeanor didn't waver, but the tension in his voice betrayed him. "If it's not natural, what are we dealing with? Rogue nations don't have this kind of tech." Before Ghost could answer, the ridge trembled beneath them. A low hum reverberated through the air, like the sound of a massive engine awakening. Ghost signaled for silence, and the team instantly stilled, their training taking over. From the darkness, a fleet of craft emerged, materializing as if they'd been there all along. Sleek, black, and triangular, the ships moved with predatory precision, their edges glowing faintly blue. Ghost's breath caught. He'd seen plenty of advanced aircraft, but this was beyond anything human. The ships hovered, silent and menacing, before releasing smaller pods that descended rapidly toward the desert floor. The pods hit the ground with a muffled thud, their hatches opening in unison. What stepped out sent a chill down Ghost's spine. Humanoid figures in silver exosuits marched in formation, their movements fluid but unerringly synchronized. Each carried weapons that pulsed faintly, emitting a low hum that suggested lethal power. Their helmets glowed faintly at the visors, obscuring whatever faces lay beneath. Ghost's hand tightened on his rifle. "Contact confirmed," he murmured. "Non-human. Stay low." Circuit, pale but steady, whispered, "Aliens? This isn't happening." "Focus," Ghost snapped. "We've got a mission. Survive and assess. Reaper, you're with me. Circuit, Doc, stay back and cover." The team obeyed without question. Ghost and Reaper moved down the ridge, blending into the shadows. They crept closer to the nearest pod, its surface smooth and seamless, reflecting the faint starlight. The aliens were focused on unloading equipment, devices that looked like beacons or generators. "What the hell are they doing?" Reaper muttered, his voice barely audible. "Setting up something big," Ghost replied. "We need intel." A sudden, sharp sound, like a mix of static and a language no human could produce, emanated from one of the aliens. They were communicating. Ghost motioned for Reaper to hold position, then slipped closer, his movements silent and deliberate. One of the aliens moved away from the group, its weapon held loosely but ready. Ghost saw his chance. With a speed born from years of training, he pounced, dragging the alien into the shadows. It struggled, but Ghost's blade found a weak spot in the exosuit's neck, and the creature went limp. He dragged the body back to Reaper, who was already scanning the area for signs they'd been noticed. "One down," Ghost said grimly. "Let's see what we're dealing with." Up close, the alien was unnerving. Beneath the helmet, its face was pale and angular, with eyes that glowed faintly green. Circuit and Doc joined them, the latter kneeling beside the body with clinical precision. "This is way beyond us," Circuit said, his voice shaking. "Not if we play it smart," Ghost countered. "Circuit, strip that weapon. Find out what powers it. Doc, anything we can use here?" Doc examined the exosuit, frowning. "Materials like nothing I've ever seen. Lightweight but tough. Maybe we can reverse engineer it if we get more samples." Before they could do more, a deafening sound filled the air. The beacons the aliens had deployed activated, shooting beams of blue light skyward. The light converged into a shimmering dome that spread outward, encompassing the entire area. Circuit stared in horror. "That's not good." "No kidding," Reaper snapped, gripping his rifle tighter. Ghost's earpiece crackled to life, startling them. The signal was weak, distorted, but the words were unmistakable. "This is General Matthews. Earth is under attack. Black Ops teams are authorized to engage. Survive by any means necessary." The transmission cut out, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Ghost's jaw tightened. "You heard the man. We're on our own." The ground shook again, and the air seemed to thrum with energy. More pods descended from the alien ships, their forces multiplying. Ghost looked at his team, each man's face a mix of fear and resolve. "This isn't just an invasion," he said. "They're taking the planet piece by piece. But if they think we're going down without a fight, they've got another thing coming." Reaper smirked, his sniper rifle already in hand. "Now you're talking." Ghost nodded, his mind already racing with plans. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy they didn't understand. But they were Black Ops, America's finest, and they weren't about to let Earth fall without a fight. The metallic room was cold and oppressively silent, its walls seamless and sterile, giving no hint of the alien technology that powered the ship. Ghost stood at the forefront of his team, his expression a mask of grim determination. Behind him, Reaper's fingers hovered near the trigger of his rifle, while Circuit nervously adjusted the device strapped to his wrist, a crude translator he'd cobbled together from salvaged alien tech. Doc, ever composed, remained still, his sharp eyes scanning every corner of the room. They weren't prisoners in the traditional sense. No chains bound them, no guards restrained them, but the towering figures that had escorted them here made it clear escape was not an option. Ghosts had weighed their odds and made the call to stand down for now. At the far end of the room, a circular aperture hissed open, and 3 beings entered. They were different from the soldiers the team had encountered on Earth. Taller, their exosuits glimmered with an iridescent sheen, and their movements exuded an air of authority. Their faces, though similar in structure to the captive Ghost team had interrogated, bore intricate markings, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. The lead figure stepped forward, speaking in a language that was sharp and alien, the cadence almost musical. Circuit's translator crackled to life, its rudimentary speakers spitting out a robotic approximation of the words. "You stand before the Council of Nixel. Humanity's fate is not yours to decide. Yet here you are." Ghost didn't flinch. His voice was calm, his tone measured. "Then tell us why we're here. What do you want from us?" The alien tilted its head, a gesture that might have been curiosity or disdain. "Survival," it replied through the translator. "Yours and your planet's." Reaper snorted softly. "Doesn't sound like they're here to negotiate, Captain." Ignoring him, Ghost kept his eyes on the alien. "You've attacked our world, killed our people, and expect us to believe this is about survival? You'll have to do better than that." The counselor's glowing eyes narrowed, and it gestured with a long, slender hand. A holographic projection appeared in the air, displaying a massive galactic map. In the center was Earth, a small, fragile, surrounded by a red, pulsating wave. "Your species has grown troublesome," the counselor said, its tone now edged with something that could almost be called regret. "For centuries we observed, intervened subtly to guide your progress, to keep your ambitions contained. But you continue to expand, to consume, to threaten balance. The galaxy cannot tolerate such recklessness." Doc stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "You expect us to believe this is some kind of mercy? That wiping us out is your way of helping the galaxy?" The second counselor spoke, its voice deeper, resonating with a mechanical undertone. "Not extermination. Assimilation. You will be absorbed into the Nixel dominion. Your resources, your knowledge, your people, integrated into a system that ensures order. Resistance is illogical. Reaper couldn't hold back. Assimilation? Sounds like a fancy word for slavery. The lead counselor's gaze shifted to him, unblinking. Your species does not understand unity. You cling to individuality, to chaos, and call it freedom. We offer purpose, order. Without us, you will destroy yourselves. Ghost raised a hand, silencing Reaper before he could escalate further. Let me get this straight, he said, his voice dangerously even. You're giving us an ultimatum. Surrender and lose everything that makes us human, or fight and face annihilation. Those are the only options. The counselor inclined its head. Your assessment is accurate. We have deemed humanity's current path unsustainable. This is your final chance to accept integration. Resistance will only hasten your destruction. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ghost looked at his team, reading the tension in their expressions. Reaper's anger simmered just beneath the surface, his grip on his rifle tightening. Circuit's mind was clearly racing, calculating possibilities. Doc's face remained stoic, but his jaw was set, a silent declaration of defiance. Ghost turned back to the counselors. You talk about unity, about order, but all I see is fear. You're afraid of what we might become, so you want to control us before we can stand on our own. That's not unity. That's cowardice. The lead counselor's glow flared briefly, a clear sign of irritation. Your pride blinds you to reality. Your species. Save it, Ghost interrupted, stepping forward. His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of unshakable resolve. We're not surrendering. Not today, not ever. You want to fight? You'll get one. But don't make the mistake of underestimating us. Humanity doesn't back down, and we sure as hell don't go quietly. The counselors exchanged a glance, their glowing eyes dimming briefly as if in silent communication. When the lead one spoke again, its tone was colder, more mechanical. You have sealed your fate. Your defiance will be your undoing. Without another word, the counselors turned and exited the room, the holographic map flickering out of existence. The oppressive silence returned, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's systems. Reaper was the first to speak. So, what now? They're not just going to let us walk out of here. Ghost looked at his team, his expression hard but determined. No, they won't. But they just made a mistake. Circuit frowned. What mistake? They think they've already won, Ghost said, a hint of a grim smile on his lips. And that's exactly when we hit them where it hurts. The team nodded, their fear replaced by resolve. They might be outnumbered, outgunned, and stranded in the heart of enemy territory. But they weren't beaten. Not yet. Ghost turned toward the exit, his mind already racing with plans. Let's move. If they want a war, we'll give them one. The air within the alien vessel was thin and metallic, as if designed to subtly disorient intruders. Ghost moved swiftly down the dimly lit corridor, his steps nearly silent on the polished surface. His team followed, their formation tight, each man alert and ready. They had a singular goal now. Find the ship's core, disable it, and create enough chaos to escape. Anything less would mean failure, and failure wasn't an option. Circuit had his makeshift translator strapped to his forearm, its screen flickering with streams of alien symbols. If I'm reading this right, he whispered, the core should be for levels down, near the central axis. But the layout's not exactly intuitive. Figure it out, Ghost said, his tone sharp but steady. We don't have time to get lost. Doc, bringing up the rear, glanced over his shoulder. We're not alone. Those counselors might have left, but their goons won't be far behind. Reaper smirked, his sniper rifle at the ready. Let them come. I've got plenty of bullets left. Ghost shot him a look. Stick to the mission. We can't waste time on fights we don't need. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with pulsating conduits that emitted an eerie blue light. In the center, a massive cylindrical device hummed with energy, its surface covered in alien glyphs that shifted and pulsed like living things. That's it, Circuit said, his voice low with awe. "The core. If we can overload it, the whole ship goes dark." Ghost scanned the room, noting the elevated platforms and the narrow catwalks crisscrossing above them. "Looks too easy," he muttered. "Where's the security?" As if in response, a deafening alarm blared and the conduit's glow intensified. Doors on either side of the chamber slid open, and a dozen alien soldiers poured in, their weapons already raised. "Speak of the devil," Reaper said, his voice grim. "Positions," Ghost barked, dropping behind a nearby console for cover. Reaper and Circuit followed suit, while Doc moved to a flanking position, his pistol steady in his hand. The first volley of alien fire scorched the air, bright streaks of plasma that melted through the metal floor. Ghost returned fire with precision, aiming for the weak points in the soldiers' exosuits. Reaper's shots followed, each one a lethal strike that dropped an enemy with clinical efficiency. "Circuit, get to the core," Ghost shouted over the din. Circuit hesitated, his eyes darting to the advancing soldiers. "Go!" Ghost snapped. With a nod, Circuit sprinted toward the core, ducking and weaving as plasma bolts seared the air around him. Doc provided covering fire, his shots deliberate and unerring. Reaper, reloading with practice speed, let out a dry chuckle. "They just keep coming. Think they're mad about the council thing. Stay focused," Ghost ordered. Circuit reached the core, his hands trembling as he began connecting the device he'd built to the alien interface. "I need 2 minutes," he called out. "You've got 1," Ghost replied, taking down another soldier. The aliens pressed forward, their coordination relentless. Ghost could see the strain on his team's faces, but none of them wavered. They'd faced impossible odds before. This was just another fight. Doc moved to Ghost's side, his voice low. "We're not holding this position much longer." "We don't have to," Ghost said. He tapped his comm Circuit status. "Almost there." Circuit's voice was tight with concentration. Reaper picked off another soldier, then cursed. "They've got reinforcements coming through the east door. We're boxed in." Ghost's mind raced. They needed a distraction, something to buy Circuit the time he needed. His eyes landed on a nearby energy conduit, its surface crackling with barely contained power. "Reaper, cover me," Ghost shouted, breaking from cover and sprinting toward the conduit. "What the hell are you doing?" Reaper yelled, but he followed orders, his shot suppressing the nearest aliens. Ghost reached the conduit and fired at its base. Sparks flew as the containment field shattered, releasing a burst of energy that engulfed the nearest soldiers. The shockwave knocked Ghost off his feet, but it gave the team a momentary advantage. "Circuit now," Ghost called, struggling to his feet. "I'm done," Circuit yelled. "Get clear." The core began to pulse erratically, its hum growing louder and more discordant. The glyphs on its surface flickered and dimmed, and the lights in the chamber began to fail. "Fall back," Ghost ordered. The team moved as one, retreating toward the corridor they'd entered from. The remaining alien soldiers hesitated, their movements disorganized as the core destabilized. Behind them, the chamber erupted in a blinding flash of light, the shockwave tearing through the ship. The team barely made it into the corridor before the explosion hit, throwing them to the ground. When the dust settled, Ghost pushed himself up, his ears ringing. The ship's systems were failing, the lights flickering erratically. "We did it," Circuit said, his voice shaky but triumphant. "Not yet," Ghost replied, pulling him to his feet. "We're not out of here until we're back on solid ground." Reaper smirked, blood running from a cut on his forehead. "You just had to blow something up, didn't you?" Ghost allowed himself a faint smile. "Worked, didn't it?" Doc checked his team for injuries, his touch efficient and reassuring. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before this ship tears itself apart. Let's move." As they ran through the failing corridors, Ghost couldn't help but glance back toward the core chamber. They'd struck a blow, but this was just the beginning. The council would come for them, and the war was far from over. But for now, they'd survived, And as long as they kept fighting, humanity had a chance.